Alright guys, so with RaceRoom's latest update and the graphics and all of that, all the, all the good things basically that RaceRoom have done over the last update or so, I've been doing a few head-to-heads, and the next one I decided to put RaceRoom against iRacing. So for this, I've come to Road America. I've jumped into the Ferrari 296 GT3. Going to do a couple of laps, see what it's like, compare the two of them together.
Give us a few clean laps to get our fuel numbers.
Let's just go for it. So, yeah, again, don't know what to expect here. Just I don't race road in iRacing. I mainly just do ovals. So, yeah, your guess is as good as mine as to how this is going to feel. But just going to do a couple of laps here on Road America and just kind of see how what the physics are like, how the car behaves, whether it's in line with what you'd kind of expect. Tyre model is going to be a big one, of course. But yeah, let's just crack on with it. So I've only done like a handful of laps in the Ferrari 296 ever, and that was at Laguna Seca, and it wasn't even a competitive race. I think it was just like some practice runs when I bought the car. I remember at the time I just wanted to compare it to Assetto Corsa Competizione. Yeah, still have the car obviously, so I thought, well, I might as well make use of it and actually compare it to RaceRoom. Force feedback, typical iRacing is a little bit notchy, but I mean, you can live with it. It's not terrible. Well, so far at least. Yeah, there's like this sort of notchiness in the centre, like it's not smooth at all. And like I have a Fanatec DD2, I'm running the interpolation on one, which I do with all my sims really. I don't like to run a lot of damping and interfere too much with what the game wants to give me, so that's the thought process at least. Yeah, when you put a lot of steering angle on, you just continuously seem to load up the steering. Like, I mean, when you get to an extreme angle, then it begins to lighten up a tiny bit, but it's not obvious that you're understeering. But yeah, it's not too bad actually. It's not too bad. Yeah, it's not too bad at all. Yeah, the ABS is doesn't seem to be modelled too well. I think I'm getting a bit of wheel lock. But all things considered, like, I mean, it does drive pretty nice, like, I have to be honest, and I'm kind of surprised because I was expecting this to be quite bad. But it's not as bad as I kind of expected. The steering is a little strange, I think, in the sense that, it's like the more extreme an angle you get to, the more kind of weight comes into the wheel, even at slow speeds. Now that could be just caster, but I don't know, I'd expect it to maybe be a little lighter because the downforce bleeds off, but again, as I said, if this car runs high levels of caster and stuff, then that would explain that. Yeah, I mean, I'm able to kind of feel where this car is, to be fair to it, like, and I'm usually not too complimentary of iRacing in these sort of situations, to be perfectly honest. But this is not bad. And as I say, I don't drive this car. I usually do like a bit of over racing in iRacing, whether it's the NASCAR trucks or the NASCARs themselves in the Pro Series. Yeah, this is actually pleasantly surprising. Pleasantly surprised. We'll finish off this lap, and yeah, I mean, it's feels. I mean, I haven't been in RaceRoom yet, so for me saying this feels good. It's, you know, I haven't been in RaceRoom yet, so you know, good at this point in time is subjective. I could run into RaceRoom and it's like, right, this is actually bad because RaceRoom is so good, or it could be the opposite. But yeah, this is actually surprising me because oh, there's that slide where it just the rear goes. I knew iRacing was going to do an iRacing thing eventually, and there it was. It's just the rear grip goes, and it's like there's very little chance of it recovering. And then once you get a slide like that, usually the rear axle is a weak point for, you know, half a lap on. It's like the tyres tend to stay a little bit slippy after a little moment like that. But
you've got about 5 laps of fuel.
Yeah, no, I have to say, in general, this is quite good. Yeah, it's not bad. Like, I can feel everything. Like, I mean, the car's behaving as it should. The force feedback itself, though, while the force feedback is decent enough, like, and it makes sense, it doesn't seem to have the nuances that I remember RaceRoom and AMS2 have, and maybe to some extent LMU as well. And like, LMU has a lot of detail in the force feedback. This has the detail, just not as nuanced, if I could describe it in a way. But all things being said and all things considered, like, it is giving me enough what I need to feel. A little bit pushy there, but all good. I could probably push this car a bit more with practice, of course, but again, just for these head-to-heads, I just want to kind of see, without doing lots of practice, kind of how it feels, because, you know, as I say, like, I've been sim racing a while, so like I'm somewhat capable, I'd like to think, right, but at the same time, if I was to do, like, you know, 20 or 30 minutes of warm-up practice before jumping on here, then like little head-to-head or review like this just begins to not make as much sense anymore because of practice, what the car feels like. And then I'm just kind of giving a biased opinion that makes sense to me based on the practice I've just done. Where my style, if I just jump in, then the sim has to speak to me quickly, obviously, and immediately, which is why I just jump in. But yeah, decent. The car feels really nice, I have to say, and I hate giving, you know... Yeah, that's pretty decent. And yeah, sometimes I hate to give iRacing kudos, you know, like I do enjoy it on the ovals, like the racing is pretty good. But obviously I don't like the whole payment model thing, but yeah, I mean, whatever, it is what it is. But yeah, generally speaking, I mean, the car looks pretty good. Sounds pretty good, I think. Yeah, it's fun. It was fun to drive. It was nice. It was typical GT3, like, you know, like I felt I could push, but without risking death, kind of thing. The ABS in some of the braking zones maybe just overshot a little, but in general, I mean, everything felt okay. There was nothing obviously bad with the feedback. But again, as I said, I haven't been in RaceRoom yet. We're going to go there next. So when I say this felt decent, this is based off just being in iRacing. But yeah, like I say, initial impressions, yeah, the car felt good. It felt predictable. The weight shift, you know, when it happened made sense. The braking made sense. And even into one or two braking areas, particularly into turn 2, once or twice, I could feel the back beginning just to get a little bit loose, a little bit light on the braking, which, you know, was what you'd expect from a kind of a heavy braking area, particularly downhill as well. But yeah, overall I'm impressed, and I love to give out about the force feedback on iRacing because like it's only, you know, 60 hertz or something, and then, you know, the SimiCube lads, they got some kind of interpolation thingy going on where it's still 60 hertz, but it's upsampled to 300 or whatever. But, you know, it maintained the game is just giving 60 anyway, so you're not getting any more than that. It's impossible. But from what I understand, it's similar in a way to Fanatec's interpolation filter. So yeah, I mean, it's good. It's decent enough. I will say though, the bumps in iRacing, when you experience a bump, it does feel a little bit like manufactured. Now I know it's not manufactured because the tracks are laser scanned, but it's just a bit notchy over the bumps. And from what I remember, like with RaceRoom and LMU and stuff, and even Automobilista, it's a more rubbery feel. You know, more natural, more of a tire sort of feeling, where this is more of a, almost like, if you could imagine, like a really low profile alloy wheel on a road car hitting a jagged bump. That's what it kind of felt like hitting little undulations and stuff here. But no, overall very good. But anyway, what we'll do, we'll jump into this in RaceRoom and compare them. And one thing I want to draw attention to as well is the graphics. This is iRacing, obviously. You know, it's an old tight, and there's that spin. Like, I mean, just so typical of iRacing. On the rear, when the rear lets go in any car, it's, you know. But yeah, like I say, it's an old enough engine. The graphics do look dated. I mean, the car looks beautiful. It's a Ferrari, you know. Of course, it's a beautiful looking car, and it's going to look good no matter how good the graphics are. Yeah, but it's an old engine. I mean, the lighting is quite basic on it. The shadows are nothing more than you'd expect. There's not many ground shadows either, like just a couple. But you know, and the textures are just quite flat. But again, you know, and one thing with iRacing that kind of annoys me is the reflections on the car body. They just look very, I don't know, they just look a bit canned. But overall though, I mean, it's good enough. Like, it's not terrible. It's good. The simulation is quite decent, and like I say, they've got that online competition thing, kind of, you know, thousands of members, so they have all that tied up. So overall, quite good, and the physics made sense, you know, at least at an initial level, and the force feedback was pretty good. I wouldn't say spectacular, but it was good. It was good enough, for sure. Anyway, let's stop this and let's jump into RaceRoom and compare RaceRoom to iRacing. Same car, same track. Alright guys, so here we are then in RaceRoom in the 296 Ferrari. So yeah, there it is. It's the DTM version, obviously. So yeah, let's go for it. Just make sure I've got, yeah, everything's...
Pit lane speed limit is 80 kilometers per hour. Pit exit's clear, push. Let's get some heat into these brakes. Cold tyres all round.
Okay, so initially the front of it feels a bit more dynamic. Let's get a few more corners going though first before we start drawing too many conclusions. It's similar, like initially it feels similar to iRacing. Oh, just outbrake myself a little there. Similar to iRacing, but more, seems to be like more range. The front of the car just feels a tiny bit lighter, and it feels like to have a tiny bit more range in the feedback. That's gone wide a little bit. But yeah, so far, similar enough. Will say the track feels a lot smoother. Left the track and I get a warning. There's no way. Yeah, initially anyway, the track does feel a lot smoother compared to.
Right, Gary, we need to watch these track limits.
Compared to the iRacing version. Yeah, these are very similar, I have to say. Force feedback though, in RaceRoom here just seems that little bit sharper. Let's get a few more laps in and just... So the TC actually doing its job there, and I kind of have a full throttle mid-corner. Yeah, this feels really good as well, I have to be honest. The track feels smoother, it's not as notchy as iRacing was. A bit late there, getting a bit greedy. But yeah, this feels great as well. Both of them from a physics perspective and an actual driving perspective, and like how the car feels, how the model actually behaves, is very, very similar. Very similar, like, I mean, like, I don't want to say identical because they're different sims, but they almost feel identical, to be honest. Oh, totally missed the braking area. But yeah, they almost feel identical.
This lap will be deleted.
Which I certainly did not expect. front of this car feels a bit more, what's the word? Like just when you're going over bumps, like you can feel and see the car just, you know, settling down a little.
The brake temperatures are fine.
Yeah, this is excellent. And give credit where it's due to iRacing. I mean, they've done a good job as well. I mean, that you know, that feels equally as good. I did drive this in, oh my god, I'm missing the braking out. What am I doing? I did drive this in, talking too much, that's what it is. I did drive this in ACC the other day, which is my old stomping ground. And interestingly, in ACC, I've done a couple of leagues in the 296. And I have to say, like, now that I've been in RaceRoom and AMS2 and LMU and, you know, now this evening a bit of iRacing, I do feel the force feedback in ACC is very mechanical. Like, it just doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like you're driving a tyre. And you know, I have to be honest, like, I did have a bit of a fanboy element to me when I was driving ACC, and I used to think, oh, like, the feedback is good, and it was good in terms of it was very direct, it was very instant, like, really it was. Like, I mean, that's one thing I'll say to them is the force feedback, when stuff happened, it was communicated immediately, but the communication and feel, probably not the most natural. We'll do one more lap here. Yeah, this is brilliant. Like this is the type of car, and it's the same with the iRacing version, that you would just drive lap after lap after lap and just, you know, be nice and relaxed in a way, enjoy the race, pace yourself. It's not like a car that needs like a lot of brain power to drive. The way, like, let's say a hypercar in LMU, or some of the kind of mid 2010 DTM cars even in this game, because they have quite a bit of downforce, and they can corner pretty well, and that obviously demands like a lot more precision. But this particular car feels very good. Very similar to iRacing again, and I'm just surprised at how similar they felt. This is a little bit understeery at mid-speed, high speed. Mainly mid-speed. High speed it seems pretty good. Like, I mean, we can land it in here and just maybe a little bit pushy actually. But that's just setup related. How the car actually behaves is, you know, pretty good. Yeah. And a very, very safe car, it feels like. You know, it's not a car that's going to get you in a lot of trouble. Both in this and in iRacing.
That lap time was 2:09.9. Good lap. That's your best in the session.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, I'm surprised. I am surprised. I thought like that. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a case that iRacing is just like really improving like their later models. Like, I haven't done like much road racing on there, so yeah, I have been surprised actually. The iRacing model felt really good, really planted. Much heavier on the front end, like the front end felt stronger than this. Like, this was definitely more pushy, a bit more dynamic, a bit more, you know, you could lose the front. You could push the front if you got too greedy. And one thing I found in this as well is that you seem to be punished a bit more for like outbraking yourself a little bit in RaceRoom. But Yeah, I mean, to be honest, both models, like on balance, they felt like almost identical in how they behaved, which is totally weird. It's funny, really, because the 296 in ACC feels nothing like these. The 296 in ACC is very, very pointy. Like the slightest steering input, and the thing is starting off to the corner. It's very, very edgy and rotates a lot around the middle. Where with these, both in RaceRoom and iRacing, to get the rotation, you could play with it a little bit in the driving style. You know, like if you trail braked in deeper, you could use the front, the brake to encourage a bit of bite. And then likewise, when you kind of passed the apex, or even had the apex kind of lined up, if you were going slow enough, you could actually drill the throttle, like in, say, second gear. You get a teeny bit of rotation from the rear. The traction control then would take care of the rest without spinning. So, yeah, they were both very predictable. They were both driven pretty much the same way, to be honest. I didn't feel like I had to adopt like to a different style or a different simulation model or a different tire model. They felt almost identical. Yeah, and I mean, you know, right, like RaceRoom obviously feels really, really good. And then iRacing, you know, has obviously stepped up a notch. I will say though, if I had to pick one, I mean, the RaceRoom FFB did feel like it had more dynamic range to it. The iRacing track model felt a bit more bumpy, like, you know, I'm guessing the laser scan. I'm not sure if this is laser scanned in RaceRoom or not, I don't know. But I mean, the track surface here felt way smoother. It wasn't a steering feedback thing, because when I hit curbs and stuff, I could still feel them as normal in both sims. There was no difference. The curb hits were the same. This was purely track surface interaction. But yeah, guys, honestly, like usually in these head-to-heads, I have a clear winner. Not this time, I have to say. And yeah, I suppose coming into this one, I thought iRacing would come out the worst of it. And maybe it has, but a tiny bit. But it wouldn't be fair to, you know, the only bad thing I'll hold against iRacing is that slide I had, where the back of it just went away, and you know, it's almost like the back of the car was sliding beyond what the steering wheel was telling me, and as a result, I was always chasing the correction. In other words, it was probably uncatchable because the feedback just wasn't correct. And it wasn't like it was a high-speed slide either that, you know, you're guaranteed to lose regardless, right? It was a very slow speed, very lazy. Shouldn't have happened. A little slide like that, you should be able to get, you know, the information through the wheel and correct quickly. But yeah, on that particular occasion, the information just wasn't there. That's probably the one thing I would say about iRacing. You know, sometimes when it matters, the FFB just lets it down. And I'm thinking that's because the FFB, like, the output rate is only like 60 Hz, so I think you're always going to be behind what the physics is doing in the game and on screen versus what you're getting to the wheel. Where I think with other sims, like, I mean, this one and Le Mans Ultimate and ACC, even though the FFB feels a bit robotic at times, but the feedback is so quick that it's instant to what's happening on screen and what's happening in the physics engine. You know, like ACC, I think polls at 400 Hz natively without any upscaling. Le Mans Ultimate and even RaceRoom, I believe, like, they're over 3 to 400 or thereabouts as well. So, you know, like really high refresh rates. Power factor 2 would be the same. you know, so I guess regardless of how the physics are, the FFB, if we take the FFB in isolation, it's much more instant in those sims compared to iRacing. That's the only downside of iRacing. Physics and stuff are fine, but it's the information sometimes and the speed it gets to you. But like I say, if you're like a long-term iRacing bunny and you've done a lot of practice in a particular car, then in situations like that, when the rear starts to go, when you visually see it on screen and you hear the tyre, you'll preempt exactly what is actually needed to catch it beyond what the physics might suggest on screen at that time, or beyond what the FFB might suggest rather, which is exactly why I don't do much practice, or any practice in fact, when I'm doing these head-to-heads, because if I did, I would have caught that slide possibly, and that wouldn't be a true reflection of, you know, the underlying physics and an FFB. But anyway guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of the new RaceRoom. I hadn't touched RaceRoom in easily over a year until the until the graphics update. And now that I have touched it again, I'm kind of glad I did, because the physics are actually much better than what I remembered. And naturally the variety of cars they have is pretty good as well. But yeah. Anyways, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, and yeah, until the next one.